Tadipo nivatasto Ningate supama smrita Yogino yata chittasya Yunjato yogam atmanaha. Please repeat. Yogino yata chittasya Yunjato yogam atmanaha. Mataji's? Go ahead. Okay. Yata, as. Deepaha, a lamp. Nivatasta, in a place without wind. Na, does not. Ingate, waver. Sa, this. Upama, comparison. Smrata, is considered. Yoginaha, of the yogi. Yata chittasya, whose mind is controlled. Yunjataha, constantly engaged. Yogam, in meditation. Atmanaha, on transcendence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendental self. A true Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence, in constant undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is as steady as a lamp in a windless place. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shugrive Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadam Mayam Tatati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatapatikalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Ragnatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savaditam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarvescha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Nitinamine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharni Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jnananandamaya Spatikakri Bhagishya Sevadini Lakshmi Yasya Hidaya Samvitam Vishnu Bhaje. Okay, Hare Krishna. So currently we're discussing the 6th chapter. What is the title of the chapter? Dhyana Yoga. What does dhyana mean? Meditation, concentration, meditation. Yoga, the word yoga indicates upon the Supreme Lord, right? Connection with the Supreme Lord. So dhyana is meditation or fixed concentration. And yoga means in connection with Krishna, in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, Krishna is through this chapter, in this chapter between 10 and 32, Krishna described the process of Ashtanga Yoga. Why does Krishna start to describe the process of Ashtanga Yoga in this section of Dhyana? Huh? Right. Before this section, Krishna, what does he say? Before he starts this section of Ashtanga Yoga, what is this very famous set of verses? I think starts at 6. Exactly. So he talks about the mind being the greatest of the friends or the worst of the enemies. So naturally, as a just like he gives the problem, like Trace was telling me today, is like, you're telling me what the problem is, but you're not telling me the solution to it. Krishna naturally, he progresses to the process of how to control the mind. So he goes to different processes of, well, the Ashtanga process, he goes to different processes of doing the yoga processes, controlling the life air, and then becoming fixed on the mind, and then fixing oneself upon that mind, which is control upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here in this section, this is the perfectional stage, this 18 to 23, which 23 is the next set of verses, 20 to 23. It describes coming to the perfection or the perfectional stage of Ashtanga Yoga, which you'll see next week in the verse of this samadhi, becoming completely fixed. So this is the goal and the perfection of Ashtanga Yoga, is to fix the mind and keep the mind fixed. And so Krishna, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that one who doesn't fix his mind, it's the greatest of enemies for him. It is of no use. It causes us so much disturbance. It causes constant disturbance to our life. No matter where you go, whether you're stuck in Atlanta, you fly over to Hawaii, to the Bahamas, wherever you go, you can change your material situation, but you cannot run from your own mind. So the mind is the greatest of enemies. So Krishna discusses this point very thoroughly throughout this section here, and how to come to that point. So of discussing all the philosophical aspect of controlling the life airs and what to eat and how to eat, how one should sleep. One should not sleep too much. One should not sleep too little. One should not eat too much. One should not eat too little. He gives all these prerequisites, you could say, in order to come to this platform of samadhi, of complete fixation. And so the verse previously that Mithiran Prabhu spoke on, when the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in a trance, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. So he becomes devoid of all material desires. And so Krishna comes to the point of giving a perfect example of this. Now he can speak of so many different examples. But in this section, what is the example that's given? What did we just read? A lamp in a windless place. And what happens to a lamp in a windless place? It stays steady, right? So Krishna also gives a similar type of analogy in the second chapter. What is the analogy of a yogi? Huh? Tortoise is there? Sure, tortoise is there. So there's a few in there, right? The ocean, right? Just as, huh? Yes, so it's just as the ocean. So 270 he gives that. So, yeah. Apuriyamanam achalam pratishtham samudram apaha pravishanti yadvat tadvad kama yam pravishanti sarve shantim apnoti kam kama kami. A person who is not disturbed by incessant flow of desires that enter like the river into the ocean, who is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So why doesn't Krishna just give the same example? Why doesn't he just give the same example? Why give a different example? Why add on to it? Prabhupada says that although the vast ocean is always filled with the water, it is always specially during the rainy season being filled with more and more water, but the ocean remains the same, steady. It is not agitated, nor does it cross beyond the limit of its brink. So, so why doesn't Krishna give the same example? It does sound like a pretty, the example that he gives of a yogi situated he's situated like the ocean, all the rivers are flowing in and like incessant desires. He's never disturbed by them. He's always fixed, he's always steady. The ocean never overflows unless you get global warming, I guess. But so it never overflows. The ocean never overflows. It keeps its steadiness. So Prabhupada said, it is not agitated, nor does it cross beyond the limit of its brink. This is also true of a person fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one has the material body, the demands of the body for sense gratification will continue. The devotee, however, is not disturbed by such desires because of his fullness. A Krishna conscious man is not in need of anything because the Lord fulfills all his material necessities. Therefore, he's like the ocean, always full in himself. Desires may come to him like the waters of the rivers that flow into the ocean, but he's steady in his activities, and he's not even slightly disturbed by desires for sense gratification. So my spiritual master speaks on this verse, and he specifically mentions that, well, Krishna could have mentioned that, but in this verse here, what's being mentioned is that a lamp in a windless place does not waver. He says that the devotee, although outside there's so much wind, just like we're inside the building right now. Now, if you walk outside, like if you walked outside yesterday or the day before, or like maybe 3-4 weeks ago, there's a big possibility of you getting injured either by the wind, by objects flying around. It's a very dangerous situation. So even though this devotee is situated in such a world where there's so much wind, he keeps his activities or his mind protected inside the building like this. Just like the walls, the 4 walls that are here, protect us from all these different craziness of life, craziness of this material world. It is a protected place. So this lamp is compared to the lamp of devotion. It's the fire of devotion. It is protected, and it is protected in a place where the wind will not come. So one who is practiced in yoga, one who is fixed in yoga, he protects himself like this. He keeps himself, although there's so much craziness going on, he keeps himself protected inside a building, inside a windless place, where the flame will not waver, where the flame will not have the opportunity to be blown out. So there is still, although it is situated in a place where there is no wind, he can still waver. There's still a possibility of a lamp becoming disturbed. Right? How is that so? How does a lamp become disturbed? You make ghee wicks every day. There's no wind in here when you do Mangalarati. Why is it that the lamp goes off sometimes? There's no sufficient oil? What else? It got extinguished. Huh? It got wet, right? If it has impurities. Now, if oil mixed with water, it becomes impure, you could say. Becomes mixed, right? It becomes mixed. Oil in its pure form, it will burn. It will burn very nicely in the morning if you just light it and you don't touch it. It will go on if you leave it outside, right? It will go on for 30, 40 minutes, even if you leave it and it's a little bit of wind outside. So the wind, but inside there's no wind, but if there's impurities within the oil, then you'll have difficulty. It will not continue burning. It will struggle. Why? Because it is mixed. So this analogy is given. Why is it given? Because similarly in devotional service, if the motive of the devotee or the practitioner of devotional service is not pure, and his consciousness does not strive to remain pure, then it becomes contaminated internally. So even though, just like we're giving the example, we can give the same example of a windless place. Similarly, when one is situated in um, living in amongst the association of devotees and living or practicing devotional service seriously by chanting 60 rounds, by following the four regulative principles, if he is situated seriously, he is protected. But even though one can be situated in such a place, if his desires become mixed, if his desires become mixed in devotional service, then he'll certainly start to struggle. Then his mind starts to waver because he is, impurities have come about. So a devotee lives in the material, but his heart is fixed on Krishna. So, but if this impurity comes about, then his mind becomes tainted by the desire for material enjoyment. This impurity is the desire for material enjoyment. So when that happens, then it starts to waver, just like we see in devotional service. We see devotees start to struggle. They start to struggle with their life in Krishna consciousness. Why do they struggle? Because our mind does not become fixed. That's what Srila Prabhupada says in one section here, that the only reason that we are disturbed or in anxiety is because the mind is not fixed on a proper goal. So the mind, as Krishna describes in the second chapter, one whose mind is controlled, his intelligence is one-pointed, and one whose mind is uncontrolled, his intelligence is many-branched. So when one's mind becomes uncontrolled by the desire to fulfill one's own senses, then his devotional service or his spiritual life becomes unsteady, starts to flicker, just like this lamp, right? Sometimes if you see, it starts to flicker, starts to become unsteady, but then sometimes it can, most of the time, hopefully, it can come back to its state and it burns off the impurities and then continues as it is. But then in also many cases, it is not able to survive that. And it just goes out. And then somebody has to come and relight it again. So if we become contaminated by the desire, or that strong material desire, then we become unsteady. How do these material desires come about? By inattentiveness. Inattentiveness in our devotional service. Inattentiveness and dissatisfaction. One has to be satisfied in devotional service. Why should we be satisfied in devotional service? Why should we be satisfied? Why should one be satisfied? How is one satisfied? By pleasing Krishna. Because we are satisfied because it's our natural position. And that's the reason we're in this material world, because our tendency and our you could say our contaminated situation is such that we're always looking to fulfill our own desires. And because of that, we've been put into so many difficult situations. So because of that, we're always being put into difficult situations. So a quality of a devotee or a person who is in spiritual life is that he's satisfied. And this is what constitutes steadiness, peacefulness. He's peaceful. Why? Because he knows what his destination is. One who is not peaceful means that he's confused. It's confused. He doesn't know what he's doing. He has no idea what he's doing. Therefore, Krishna says, with the lamp of knowledge, destroy this ignorance. How to do this? By lamp of knowledge, by studying, by understanding. But Prabhupada also says one cannot study in the mode of passion and ignorance. This Rajas and Tama gun. One cannot understand the science of Krishna consciousness in the mode of passion and ignorance. Because peacefulness means goodness. You cannot come to the platform of peace unless you come to the platform of goodness. They go hand in hand. Goodness is where you'll find peace. What is it? It is illuminated by? And? No. happiness. It is mode of goodness is illuminated by happiness and knowledge. So when one comes to that level, he is peaceful, because Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, what is the question of happiness without peace? So what is the question of being satisfied or happy in devotional service without being free of rajas and tamagun? So one has to come out of that. One has to come out of that. Otherwise, if one is in the mode of passion, we're always looking for a better situation. And that is the inherent problem of the jiva. He thinks that he can figure out a situation where he can be happier. He can do better. He can be a greater person. He can do much more. He can be more satisfied somewhere else. And this is specifically a mental approach. In the Krishna conscious movement, we call it being mental. Oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like this, I don't like that. This simply means that we're performing mixed devotional service, that there's so much passion, there's so much material desire within the heart that we're not satisfied in any position. No, I don't like this service, I don't like that service, I don't like the way that this is being done, I don't like the way that that is being done. A mixed devotee, he will consider like this. Devotee who's on the mixed platform. But a devotee who's on the pure platform, he does not consider like that, because he does not care for his own sense gratification. Because he understands, just as one waters the root of the tree, all the leaves become nourished. If he simply serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he will become completely satisfied. He will become satisfied. No problem. No problem at all. Simple for the simple. Difficult for the difficult. So a devotee is naturally simple at heart. He understands by his intelligence, by knowledge, that what the services that he performs are on the platform of devotion to Krishna. So in whatever situation he's put, whether he is a grihastha that's working a job maybe, or a brahmachari or a brahmacharini, or whatever situation he may be in, difficult or easy, he does not become agitated. This is a quality of a fixed devotee. He goes on, whether it's very difficult. Just like we have examples of pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada and so many others. Bhaktisiddhanta, so many difficult times they went through, but you don't see a little bit of waving. There's no waver. Why? Because there's no impurity. Yeah, they're fixed. They've fixed themselves. They're away from the harsh winds. But there's also completely pure. The fuel is pure. The person is pure. The intention is pure. So when we do this, when we have this mixed devotional attitude, then we waver. And what does that make us? It makes us miserable. It makes us miserable. No matter where you go, you'll always be miserable. Because you're not fixed. You're not fixed on the ultimate goal of life. You may become fixed in some material desire of, I want to get a house, get a car, get some money, get some women. But all these things, obviously, for at least a devotee who is a studied, understands these are temporary. So these things won't satisfy us. So how do we become fixed? Well, that's described just in the verse before, where Srila Prabhupada quotes King Ambarish. He engaged his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord, then one after another engaged his words in describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, his hands in mopping the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing of the activities of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the transcendental form of the Lord, his body in touching the bodies of the devotees, his sense of smell in smelling the scents of the lotus flowers offered to the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulasi leaf offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, his legs in going to places of pilgrimage and the temple of the Lord, his head in offering obeisance unto the Lord, and his desires in executing the mission of the Lord. All these transcendental activities are quite fitting a pure devotee. And at least for those who stay in the temple and practice here, you're doing these things every day, right? We're smelling the flower, we're seeing the deity, we're engaging in mopping and cleaning the floor, we're engaging in so many other activities. So why is it that our senses are still a little agitated, and our minds are still agitated. Why? Most of the devotees here have studied Prabhupada's books. Why is the mind agitated? Attachment to sense objects, sure. There's one thing in here that I mentioned, or that is mentioned here, that we are not doing properly. We're doing these all the things. Sure, we're engaging the words and describing qualities of the Lord, maybe not to a complete extent. We're engaging our hands, we're engaging our ear in hearing, our eyes in seeing, our body, his body in touching the bodies of the devotees, his sense of smell in smelling the scents of the lotus flowers, is the tongue in tasting tulasi leaf offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. This is a pilgrimage place in itself when you walk around. So why? Not attentive, but here his desires in executing the mission of the Lord. Very important. Of all these things that are here, the topmost thing is that his desires must be redirected properly. These are very important things. That the desire to execute the mission of the Lord. What is the mission of the Lord? Can anybody quote anything? Spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Krishna Upadesh. To spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. That is the mission of the Lord. And so we are fixed in the mission of the Lord. That mission is given by the spiritual master. That mission is given by the spiritual master. All these transcendental activities are quite befitting a pure devotee. So one's desires, oneself should be dedicated like that to the mission of the Lord. Otherwise, it becomes difficult. Because you got to understand that everybody is driven by desire. We're driven by a missionary spirit. We want to do something in our life. We want to accomplish something, right? For most of us, we're so foolish, we think just by chanting Hare Krishna and smelling the flowers and mopping the floor, that's not the perfection of life. I need to do something more. Okay, this is fine. We want to do something good, but that should be done, directed towards the Lord. Otherwise, we'll always feel like we're being oppressed, suppressed, pushed around, and then start to waver. So these desires need to be directed properly, so that the person whose desires are directed properly, he can become situated just like the lamp. He becomes situated, although so many things, crazy things are going on outside, and the devotee keeps that lamp fixed in a windless place. And within that windless place, he makes sure to have pure intentions, to use pure fuel. That is the fuel that one's intentions in devotional service, one's quality of his attentiveness, his devotion, his recognition of his own material desires, not to act upon them. So these are very important in executing his devotional service. So this Ashtanga Yoga is coming to this point of becoming completely fixed. One must become completely fixed in devotional service, otherwise it becomes a drag. Because what does being fixed means? One is actually is enthusiastic about it, right? How does this verse start? In Utsaha Nishchaya Dhairya Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyagat Satovrite Sadhir Bhakti Vinash. No. Shad Prasidati. So being enthusiastic, being patient, being confident, endeavoring with confidence. These are the qualities. In anything you do in life, you have to do these things. Anything you do in life. If Ramayan says, if one is not enthusiastic about the activity that he does, it becomes like poison. Any activity that you do, we must be enthusiastic about it. Seeing that it is in relation with the Lord is very difficult to do, but it can be done. Being patient, that sometimes there is a lot of material desires within the heart. This anarthas, these unwanted things within the heart are very difficult to get rid of. But with the simply by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, by understanding transcendental knowledge, by chanting the holy names. These are all transcendental activities. By if we are patient, if we simply wait our whatever karma that we deserve in this life and go on in our life performing devotional service, we will see purification. And this is also meaning of fixed, just like this being described here, that not just that one is situated away from the wind, sometimes just like the ocean itself is situated, there's the ocean and the rivers are flowing constantly, hitting it directly. But the person, he's deep like the ocean. His consciousness is very deep. Means he's very fixed. So we're always bombarded by so many material desires. We're always bombarded by so many misconceptions of who we are. Aham mameti, aham mama bhava, this understanding of identifications of, who I am in this world. A man, a woman, a white man, a white woman, a black man, a black woman, whatever it may be. All these things are destinations, coming from this. These are all material destinations that do not actually pertain to who we are. Designations. Because as soon as we start to identify with this false ego, then we lose this fire devotion. Then we lose the concentration, we lose the dhyana, we lose this yoga, we lose this connection with Krishna. And that comes about by material desire. And that material desire comes about by association with materialistic persons and one's attraction to certain sense objects that everyone is particularly attached to, one's association with those sense objects. So one has to detach from these things. How does one detach from these things? Right? Asasanga tyago vritti. So one gives up unwanted association. He stops talking nonsense. But he also experiences a higher taste in spiritual life. We experience this higher taste. And that is done by constant devotional service. Constant. Not here and there, here and there, here and there. This won't get us there. We have I'm sure we have our own experiences where, if we're fixed in our reading, chanting, and all these different things that Krishna is speaking about, not eating too much, not sleeping too little and sleeping too much. I didn't mention eating too much because you can do that right now. But anyways, being careful with that. We're doing all these things. Then we can become fixed. You'll see your spiritual life grow. But if we are not consistent, not patient, not patient enough, not regulated enough, then we'll struggle. Then we'll see struggles. Then we'll see anarthas come out. We'll have so many difficulties in our spiritual life. We'll be confused. Although there's no confusion, actually, everything is very clear. If we're intelligent with the Bhagavad Gita, that's the beauty of it, that it is very clear. Everything is very clear. Any question, any problem you have is solved with no problems. The only problem is our own mind. Right? That is the only problem in this world, is your own mind. You think that actually in the 11th canto, this is the Aila Gita? Or is it the Brahmana that says all this? That he starts to describe, okay, I'm thinking that the weather is the problem. I'm thinking that, Avanti Brahmana. This Avanti Brahmana, he just starts to describe, well, actually, I'm thinking like this, the demigods are my causes of my problems, or my body is the cause of my problem, this is the cause of my problem, this is the cause of my problem. Actually, myself, I am the ultimate cause of all the problems. I'm the cause of all the problems that I have, all the situations that I'm in that are causing me difficulties. I am the result of that. I have caused all those things, whether in this life or the last life. So our only problem is our own mind, not other people. Not other things around us, not the situation around us, but our own self. It's the impurities within the oil. Because if the jiva is actually fixed and he's actually turned his face towards Krishna, then as Prabhupada says, where there is light, there's no darkness. And where there's darkness, there's no light. So if we choose to be ignorant, if we choose to be servants of Maya, of illusion, then we can never become fixed. Then we'll never see. But if we can, what is this word Krishna uses in the Bhagavad Gita, that you're hearing but not hearing. What is it? What is it? Pashyana vina pashyati. Mm-hmm. One is hearing, but he's not actually understanding. He's seemingly hearing. But Prabhupada said one should apply this. One should apply this. Jnana vijnana. Vijnana is even more important. Not that just we hear about it from Bhagavad Gita, but actually apply it and realize it. This is the most important thing. Contemplate upon it and realize it. This is more important than anything, than just mindlessly reading. It is important to read. We should read, but it's not mindless reading. It's actually mind. The mind is full. We're not trying to empty the mind. We're trying to fill the mind. And then contemplate upon those thoughts. And then apply that. And realize that. Otherwise, you won't get very far. You won't get very far if we don't try to understand and realize what is in these books. If we don't try to practically apply those things. And then we'll see, like I was saying, so many difficulties that come about, so many mental problems. All these things come about. So one must be steady like this. One must be very steady in protecting himself from the harsh winds by being situated in a protected place. And he should also protect himself internally by chanting Hare Krishna and keeping himself pure, being careful of how material desire may be there, and how one should always remain fixed like that, like how to always remain pure. So it is a test if one does have material desires and there's impurities, whether we completely burn out, where we're able to somehow or rather regain our Anayamataji, do you want to grab this? Or whoever? So it is a test of devotional service that whether we're able to regain our fire or whether we burn out. And every devotee and every person practicing spiritual life will go through a point in their life where it's either burnout or restabilize. But when that fire restabilizes, the impurities should completely burn out. And then it should remain fixed. So when we do go through tough times, we can take shelter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's take shelter of the holy name, take shelter of our spiritual master, and become fixed again. Or become even more fixed in our devotional service. Remove those impurities. Try to do that. Endeavor to do that. We have to do it no matter what. What else is there to do? This material world, just dukhalayam ashashvitam, just misery after misery. It's impossible to account the number of miseries that the living entity goes through in his journey of this material world. As devotees being situated, trying to be devotees, situated in an ashram or amongst devotees, we start to forget how much miseries people go through. You forget. You completely forget. When I realize it, when I go out on the street and I see people, they can't eat properly. People eat food that is 6 days old from their fridge. We could never imagine that here. Every day, every meal is fresh. It is offered to Krishna, cooked with love, cooked fresh. Apart from Janardhan when he bakes. So, everything is cooked fresh with love. Everybody around you is not an envious person. All the devotees are very loving and caring and care about you and always looking after you. Making sure your spiritual life, your material life, whatever, everything is doing good. Your life is very simple. You don't have to worry about working a job, having to pay bills. You don't have to worry about any of these things. But if you analyze a materialist, oh my God, you go to work, you get up at like 5 o'clock, get ready, go to work, eat a sandwich in the morning, maybe just food that's not very, whatever. You get bread from the store, put a tomato in the middle and a cheese. I don't know what Americans eat. I'm sorry. But is that it? Is that it? That's it. Am I right? Is that it? So, and then for lunch, what do you have? Like salad and pasta and an apple. Throw something in the microwave, maybe. What is it? Fast food or that nasty? Actually, when I was working part time, like a casual job. Oh yeah, now you got Uber Eats also, food app. Uber Eats. So I went to the store and I bought this. What is this? Instant food? Is that what it's called? Instant noodles, yeah. Ramen noodles. I bought that and I put it in the microwave and I cooked it. I was like, all right. My family, generally my mom would always make me like lunch and I'd take it, but one day I was like, nah, I'll go eat what I want. And so I put this in now and I took it out and I eat it and I threw up. I was like, this is nasty. And it's like disgusting. I was like, what is this? This is what people eat. This is horrible. And unfortunately, I know so many people that just live life like that. You wake up, you go to work, you come back, and then what time is this? Like 7 o'clock. You're so tired, you don't have the ability to think about spiritual life or anything, and then you mindlessly watch TV or YouTube or TikTok. Or is Snapchat still a thing nowadays? That's still a thing. That's still like popular. I don't know, bro. Instagram, Snapchat. I don't. That was a long time ago for me. It was like when I was in high school. So all these things. So one mindlessly just because he's just so just tired of dealing with material energy. You forget how heavy material energy is to deal with. It's just so heavy. But being in an atmosphere where you wake up 4 o'clock in the morning, you dance and chant and get to chant your japa in the morning for 2 hours, meditating for 2 hours on our beads in the morning. And then you get to sit and hear about the goal of life with people who are trying to become pure of heart, coming to that stage of purity. And then you take food that is lovingly cooked, not cooked by some person in some restaurant who doesn't care about anyone. Just cooking, put it in a bag, give it to the Uber guy, and he runs it to you. So it is a very nasty situation, this material world. Just nobody cares. It's like a cutthroat society. Nobody really cares about each other at all. Everybody's just fighting for their own positions. Everybody's fighting for their jobs. And so we don't want to extinguish and jump back into that situation just because, we're forgetful of that and we think we can do better. Because we can't. This is our natural position. Our natural position is to be in loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's nothing more. There's nothing more. In any society, love is the center of the society. In any society you go. But they don't know what is that love, and that love is often misdirected. And therefore, everybody's lives is a mess. Most people you talk to on the street is fake smiles, fake conversations, superficial. Everybody's life is a big mess. Sometimes when you distribute books, big, huge guys, like really big, and they're walking around, look like a little scary to talk to, but you talk to them and you realize this person actually is like very weak, very mentally disturbed, very mentally is like very scared. Because one is they can understand when some of the devotees approach him, it's like, oh my God, this person is able to see beyond my externals. Just like Matsya here, somebody pulled a gun on him and said, what, are you going to shoot me? You're going to go to jail for a pretty little white boy? And he could understand, oh damn, I'm not, this person. Matsya is like that. He's a little crazy. I wouldn't do that. I'm too skinny and small, and I can't do anything about that gun. He's gonna shoot me. I'm done. But he can understand. It's like, and then he bought the books from me because he understands. Damn, this guy can see right through me. But in devotional service, when one actually becomes fixed, although there is so many difficulties, it's not that Krishna consciousness means wow, everything is wonderful. But due to our own material desires and misconceptions of life, and our aham mama bhava, our desire to be the controller, we experience so many difficulties. But if one is intelligent, Krishna gives this one of the first things Krishna says to Arjuna: tolerate. Learn to tolerate heat and cold, winter and summer, the non-permanent in this world. Learn to tolerate all these things. Without this, you cannot even come to the point of understanding you're the soul. You cannot come. So tolerate. This is one of the qualities of a devotee. It's the quality of one who is in the mode of goodness. It is the quality of a brahmana. So we have to learn to tolerate. Otherwise, either we learn to tolerate the little inconveniences we go through with our own mind in our bodies and whatever, or we have to tolerate the onslaught of material nature, which is constant. It's just constant. You have to be always on the run. You better work. Otherwise, this is like, right, more and more now, this is like your jobs are less, the pays are less, there's inflation, and so many things I'm seeing, like my iPhone, like shows up news that there's like the pay, but then there's inflation and people can't keep up, so you have to work multiple jobs. Both the husband and the wife both have to work, otherwise, and then the child gets left out, and it's a big mess. So Krishna consciousness is a solution to not just, it is a solution to all of our problems. But it requires tolerance. It requires level of patience. It requires to be enthusiastic, to be inspired, self-inspired. I can speak so many things, but it's up to you at the end of the day whether you want to take up Krishna consciousness or not. I can't force you to, because Krishna says this is not the process. One should do this with love. Love means independence, right? One loves with independence. One does not love with a gun on someone's head. So you can take it or leave it, the Krishna consciousness movement. It's up to you. But it's very clear that this is the natural constitutive position of the soul. And even if it is, let's say, all of this is all a chance, that all of us are here because of chance. All of us are here just because of some big bang or whatever, and there's no God, and everything is just a big coincidence, big trash that got thrown out and is somehow come together and built a big building and a world and things that live in it and move and have legs and eat and whatever. Even if this is all a coincidence, still you live such a good life of Krishna consciousness. What's the problem? Chanting, dancing, feasting. People around you are very, just amazing. What's the problem? There's no problem. You become situated. The science is there. Everything is there. You don't even. If you study it, you can't deny it because you see it in front of your eyes. Krishna describes how one becomes, how all the mental activities of a person. He describes how one goes through misery, why this is so. And you can see it practically. So therefore, Krishna says this is pratyaksha. This is directly seen. We're not just discussing faith here. We're not discussing faith, that you have to have faith in this. No, experience it practically. The chanting and dancing, the bliss of devotional service is practically experienced, but it requires us to be tolerant, to be dedicated, enthusiastic. And in this way, if we follow these instructions of Rupa Goswami, following the rules and regulations, following these instructions that are being given in Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada says that devotional service becomes very, very easy because we follow the instructions of the spiritual master. It becomes very easy, it becomes very blissful. And even amongst the tough situations, one is still blissed out, even though so many problems may be going on, which is, please don't expect no problems. If you expect no problems, then you haven't understood anything. There's so many problems, but amongst all those problems, the point is being here is that he's situated. He's situated. Even if there's impurities in one's own heart, he does not care. Whatever happens in this life, I'm going to perfect my life. Because you cannot defeat the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita intellectually. There's just no defeating. I've tried many times because, when you want to enjoy your senses and you want sense gratification, you try to find every excuse why you should enjoy. But if you study, damn, this is everything that I'm coming up with is destroyed. You talk to a devotee, if you have some if you have some doubt or problem or excuse of why you shouldn't practice, then you talk to someone. Talk to a person who's learned in Shastra. He'll remove all your doubt. You talk to your spiritual master, he'll remove all your doubt. So one can become completely situated like this. So if there's any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. Is there anything at all? Ty? And then I'll ask after him. Just wait 1 second.
You said that in the you read somewhere in the Ramayana that Lord Rama he said like a quote.
No, it's not Lord Rama. Who is the leader of the monkeys? Sugriva said this, yeah.
What was the quote?
That if one does not have enthusiasm, every activity becomes like poison. I may be paraphrasing it, but along those lines. It becomes distasteful. Nothing you can do. Okay. Did you have a question? Yes. You want to give her the mic? Welcome. Is this your first time here? Or how did you find out about it? Okay. Is one of them Mataji's? Okay, good. Kamila, Mataji there. Okay. Who is Krishna? Good question. Thank you. Very good question. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you'll see up there, right there, see the black boy? All the way on the right, sitting next to the white girl. So that is God. It's very surprising. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, God is transcendentally black, and he's a boy who plays a flute, and he lives in a village, and he has a good time all the time. So if you're a God, you're not some old man that sits in a chair and sends everyone to hell or heaven, and that's all you do, and that's your definition. And you have a long beard and you're old, but actually, God is ever youthful, and he enjoys. And when the most amount of enjoyment one gets is in his youth. So Krishna means all attractive, very beautiful, all opulent, is full of all qualities. And so Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's Krishna. Anything else you would like to know? All his activities and things are described more. You can ask more questions, but we have a book about Krishna just called Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You have that book? You got a small stack? Okay, that one doesn't have it. We can show you. Yes. Turn it on. Ty, you turn it off. Why is there this noise?
I wanted to ask what role discipline plays.
What role discipline plays? So what role does discipline play? Well, one has to be, anything he wants to do, if he wants to achieve some level of success in anything, he has to be disciplined. He has to be regulated. Everything that he does, he has to make sure that he does it every day. He makes sure that he's consistent with it. So when one is disciplined, it helps him practice. His level of advancement becomes more rapid in his spiritual life. So discipline is there like that. His advancement it is enhanced by it. So it is taught in the monastery to be very disciplined. When one studies, how one regulates his life, how one speaks, how one behaves, because these all constitute how we think, our behavior, what we read, what we think, how we speak. So all these things in Krishna consciousness, they are redirected those tendencies that we have, and they're disciplined into constantly inquiring about spiritual life. What is the goal of life? What is the purpose of life? How one achieves that perfection. So discipline is like that. Is that okay? Thank you. Anything else? Any questions? Yes, question? It's on, okay. It works, it says. Oh, it works. There you go.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Thank you for this discussion. This past weekend, I was fortunate to go to a farm in Tennessee,
Mm.
and I was able to listen to a discussion from Maharaja Hanumat Priseka Swami,
Oh.
and he made a comment similar about you talking about when we get up and start our daily life. He made a comment about the mode of goodness starts at 2 a.m. in the morning
Mm-hmm.
and lasts until
That's too early for me.
10 a.m. From 2 a.m. until 10 a.m.
Okay.
That's when you're doing your devotion and
Yeah.
what you guys do in the monastery. And then from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m., that's the mode of passion,
Mm-hmm.
when we all get up and we go to work and start all our duties and seek to make as much money as we can and get in all the traffic and all of this kind of stuff. And then the mode of ignorance starts at 6 p.m., and that's when we have happy hour. Drinks a half
Ignorance
price.
is bliss.
Really.
Ignorance is bliss.
And you ordering all the meat and doing all the other
Goodness
stuff.
is suffering, right? When you got to get up in the
Right.
morning. Oh
Goodness
my
is
God.
suffering.
Even I
And there's
struggle,
goodness,
yeah.
there's blessing in suffering. But you get up at 6 p.m., that's when all of that craziness starts until about 1 o'clock. If you go into clubs and stuff, that's the
Clubs
time
go to like 4 a.m. though, right?
yeah.
They're still partying
well, see,
until
what normally
Mangalarti.
happens, at 1 o'clock, they turn on the lights, so that's the last call for alcohol.
Really?
And if you haven't made any connections by then where you're in a desperate situation. So it starts from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Oh.
So that's the mode of ignorance.
At
So
least
it-
when I turned 18 in Australia, you can go. I remember people were still out until 4 o'clock in the
yeah,
morning.
here in Atlanta,
Mm.
they're out all
Yeah.
all night long. Yeah.
So or even in New York, when we used to live in New York, we used to go to the morning program at 4:30 a.m. and just so many people just lined up, still drinking and partying. But in regards to that point, it is not that it like okay, it's like 10 a.m. now. Okay, now passion. It's gradual. It's slowly, it's happening throughout the day. So mode of goodness, and then slowly into the mode of passion, and then slowly into the mode of ignorance, and then again back. So like that. Anything else? Jita Girish Prabhu?
You briefly mentioned a point. I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit. You said when we're in the mode of passion, when we're in the mood of wanting to do so many things, then we may, in that mindset, we may feel suppressed or, what was that word you used? Oppressed or, caged in, disciplined by others, etc.
Yeah, especially for a brahmachari, right? Because for brahmachari means monks or brahmacharinis, or those who are, you could say nuns, but that doesn't really, nuns is not really the right term, right? Because nuns don't get married. So for the monks and the Matajis, our mothers, for especially those, we are engaged by the spiritual master in particular activities. And so what happens is if you have a lot of material desire, you're not satisfied in a situation because of that, and therefore you want to engage because you can't engage in that material desire, you have to direct that in some way, many branched, right? Krishna says, like I was mentioning, Krishna says that your intelligence becomes many branched. So you want to do so many different activities, and you want to do those activities, but that's not the activity that you should engage in. So sometimes, you're not happy to go out on book distribution, so you're trying to push to just cook or maybe just stay back and clean or something. But the spiritual master or the devotees who are looking after you, they want you to push to just stay fixed in one thing. No, you're not. You're not. And it happens to me a lot. You're not doing this, not doing that. You just do one thing. Why? Because you need to control your mind, right? Control your mind. Stay situated in one thing. Because if one can't do that, it's a big sign of one's material desire. He's not satisfied. So you have to see according to the situation. So, but if one, because he's considering his happiness, and if that's not satisfied, then he feels like that, oppressed or suppressed, or that I'm not being giving importance, or I'm not. But one who is satisfied in devotion, he goes on. He's just happy in any situation, and you can experience this practically in your own. If you learn how to be satisfied in any situation, whatever situation it may be, whether you're having to cook or clean or go out on books, you're ready in your mind, and you're ready to do any service for Krishna, then you'll notice that actually you just don't become disturbed. You're just like, okay, just like okay, yeah, that's fine, and you just go on. And so many devotees are like that, like Avadhu Chandra Prabhu was describing a devotee. He's just gone his whole life just cleaning, and he's just completely satisfied. And he's not, just because he's fixed. And as our spiritual master was saying, nobody's going to come and glorify you. Nobody's going to tell you you're such a great person, you're so wonderful. But, he gets to go, he has to leave the material, he goes back home, back to Godhead to be with Krishna, to be in the spiritual world. What is that? Nobody's going to say, Jai Om Vishnu Pad, when he goes to the spiritual world. So this is the point, that generally that dissatisfaction comes from this trying to not having recognition and wanting recognition. So one has to be free from that, and then you'll notice when one becomes free from that, sometimes Krishna naturally gives it. Just like this devotee, he doesn't have that, but naturally, so many devotees may know of this devotee who is just performing menial services, like waiting to get his association. If I ever get that, I'll be very fortunate. He's glorious in that way. So he doesn't want that, but because of his selfless mood of not wanting that, even his glories is spread in so many ways. Like, because, a devotee may speak about him, like our spiritual master is speaking about him, so therefore, we're all now mind, this devotee is like there. And so that's what matters, that actually one is selfless. And naturally, a devotee is naturally, he doesn't desire that, but he's naturally glorified. But so that like that. So if one has material desire, and then he'll feel oppressed, especially within devotional service, or especially within the brahmacharya ashram. Okay. Anything else? Any questions? You have another one? Oh.
For someone else have a question?
No. Okay. All right.
For someone new coming to Krishna consciousness, it may be a big letdown to know that you have to, like, you have material desires and you have something you want, and then through the philosophy you figure out you shouldn't want that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you follow the proper path, you can't have that. It could be like a letdown.
Sure.
So what should one do in that situation, having material desires but knowing they shouldn't?
It's going to be a letdown anyways. So one thing is like that, often the example is given is that one is being given diamond, and so he has to let go of his gold. He's holding both hands. So somebody's throwing a diamond, then he lets go and grabs onto one lets go of his gold and grabs onto the diamond. So one may have so many material aspirations, but if he is intelligent and he understands, okay, what is the actual essence of it, then he can let go of it. Like just like all of us in this room, and I will speak for all the brahmacharis and who've done it, we had so many aspirations, so many things. Like we wanted to become this type of person, work this type of job. We were able to give it up. And it was, for me, I remember it was really disappointing being told, like, damn, that's not what's going to bring you happiness. I was like, dang, it's true. And it was disappointing, but it's like you tolerate it and you get over it and you go, okay, what is the real thing? And then you experience a higher level of happiness, then you go, okay. And then you go see those people that are doing what you wanted to do, and you realize, damn, they are miserable. And you go, okay, you know what, devotional service is very blissful. So by knowledge, by practical knowledge, one is detachment comes about. Well, some cases you may not have to give it up. Some cases you may engage that in Krishna consciousness. Some cases that may be there. That's according to, person to person. So it's not that every person has to just give up, renounce. There is also, Krishna is describing karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. So that aspect is there, where one engages his natural propensities in Krishna, just like you're bringing flowers for Krishna. You bought flowers. Those flowers you bought in the morning, we offer them, and then we put it on Krishna. We put it at the lotus feet of Krishna. So this is one way of engaging what you do. You've worked hard, you've earned your money, and then you're using that, and your mind is fixed. Today, I'm going to take this. I'm going to go buy flowers, and give it to Krishna. This is Krishna consciousness. This is engaging your life in Krishna consciousness. Not everybody has to become a monk or renounce. It's an ideal situation for Krishna consciousness, but not everybody has to be in that situation. Just like Maria Mataji over here, she's been practicing very nicely. She's found just right? You're reading Bhagavatam, you're chanting Hare Krishna, and you're finding bliss in life. You're finding happiness in life. So just like that, it's not. She doesn't live here, and she's not one of the other Matajis who live in the building, but she's taken up Krishna consciousness seriously. Following these things, you'll see a huge difference in your life. And then engaging, just like, you're offering these flowers. You may do so many other things. You may come to the temple, attend the morning program. The women in the morning, they decorate different things. They clean different things. You may help out in that way. So one may engage his propensities in devotional service. One may be a very great architect. He may help design so many things. He may be a great singer. He may sing for the Lord. He may be a great whatever, so many things. Whatever he has, that he can engage in the service of the Lord. So it's not just about renunciation. We're not about dry renunciation. We're about applied renunciation. So just like some of the devotees here are very good at farming. So they're doing urban farming in the back. So there's applications there like that. So it's not just about renunciation. Okay, I got to end it here. So Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki.